First, a quick word about my firm, Country Risk Solutions. We're in the business of answering questions and solving problems. We help people with unique entry issues and operating issues better understand how to resolve those issues. And hopefully you'll gain a little bit of insight on that today. Let's first start off by identifying what is risk. Risk is probability times consequences. So what is the chance that something's going to go wrong, and what are the consequences involved if it does? And you're better off if both of those are low. But part of the problem is you can't know in advance what the probability and the consequences are. One of the key points I want to point out today is the idea that politics and economics are inextricably linked in everything that we do. Just look at what's going on in Europe, look at what's going on here in the political arena. There's no way to separate the two. But that doesn't just go in developed economies. It goes in every economy. They are inextricably linked, and we have to understand that. So anytime you go overseas, you're going to have a series of different types of risk, one of them being political risk. I define political risk as coming in basically 4 different quadrants. Those that are specific to the country, to the firm, those that are related to governments, and those that are related to stability. Another key point I want to make today is that country risk is transaction specific. That means that each transaction has unique profile. This investment at this time in this place means that you can have a power plant sitting side by side in the same country, and they're going to have different risk profiles. That's the starting point. It's transactional risk. That's how I define it here. The risk that changes in an operating environment can impact your profit, impact the value of your assets. So transactional risk encompasses not just political and economic risk, but developmental, environmental, tax risk, a whole series of different types of risks. And how you interpret them ultimately will have an impact on how well you are able to manage or not manage those risks. There's a tendency to focus simply on numbers, and certainly bankers identify with this, and there's plenty of value in that. I'm not trying to knock it. But to look at numbers only to assess your risk, probably not a good idea. I would mix qualitative and quantitative methods of assessing risk. Let's move on to intellectual property. You know, a common mistake that a lot of companies make is they think of knowledge not as an asset, but as something else, when in fact knowledge is a hard asset, and it's becoming more so today. Most companies don't derive full value from their intellectual capital. The challenge is how to create that optimal value. As we know, not every country in the world has the same legal regimen that we have here in the United States, or you may encounter more frequently in Europe. So even if there are some laws on the books, the question is, how can you actually enforce it? Critical IP is not simply impossible to adequately protect in a variety of emerging developing markets. It's multifaceted. Some companies have made some improvements in how they do their IP management, but many are becoming more sophisticated in how they address it just by slowly upgrading their capabilities. Most companies recognize the need to develop more accurate valuation methods, and the number of companies that provide supplemental information to their IP to investors is increasing. But so are the lawsuits. According to PwC, they believe that about half of executives think a significant percentage of lawsuits today are merely spurious and designed to harass the competition. That's why having a handle on your IP is all the more important. The idea of creating a currency in terms of how you have licensed your intellectual property means that you can cross-license and you can have some comparative advantages.